Hey everyone. I think we're just going to wait a few minutes here just so everybody can come in. All right, I think we are good to start the presentation. So thank you for everybody who's come. I'm very excited to talk to you guys today about my experience of moving away from home and hopefully encourage you guys to take your own steps to start college in another country or another city. So we can get started with the first slide. All right, so my name is Anika Schneider. I joined NSHSS in 2018. I'm an ambassador, a student council member, and also a member of the student council executive board. My position on that board is the executive vice president. And a little bit about my story with moving away from college. I actually decided to move to Sweden in 2019, September 2019 actually, but I'm originally from Colorado, USA. So if anybody is from Colorado, I am from Boulder. So go Boulderites if anybody is from there. But my story about how I decided to go is a little interesting. I was actually committed to CSU, so Colorado State University. And then I'd always had this dream that I was going to go somewhere else, see another country, specifically Sweden, because I had ancestry there. And I don't know, I felt like if I didn't go now at this age when I have the opportunity to move with so little and am in a flexible part of my life, it probably would never happen. So I was actually already committed to CSU in the criminal justice for 4 years. And one Thursday, I just called up my dad and I was just like, you know what, this is not happening. Like, I'm leaving and I'm going to Sweden and that's how it's going to be. So of course that shocked my whole family because I had already committed to the university and everything, but I knew it was the right choice. It was terrifying, like my stomach was bubbling and everything, but I also knew deep down through the bubbles that those bubbles, all those of nervousness, is also from excitement. And now I'm here in Lund, Sweden. I have lived in Sweden now for 2.5 years. I did the police preparatory academy last year. I studied Swedish before that, and now I am studying forensic psychology and criminology at Lund University, which is a top 100 school. So I'm super proud of my choice and how long I have come to be able to, yeah, I guess succeed in my dreams. And I would do it over 100 times now, knowing how happy and fulfilled I am. Even though I was questioning if it was worth it, it is 100 times absolutely always worth it. And hopefully I can make you guys feel a little bit more reassured in your decision process or help you in that decision process through this presentation. So we can start on the next slide. All right, so this is a little bit of the content we're going to go through today. It's broken up into 4 parts. First, we're going to go a little bit about where to go if you guys are still questioning what city, what country, what state. Then we're going to talk about how to move there, or which is a little bit of process in preparing, and then also once you get there. I'm then going to also talk about the difficulties that come with moving away from home, and then of course also the pros with getting away from home. But the good thing about the difficulties is that I'm mostly going to talk about coping strategies instead of just going on about how difficult it is, because we don't want to focus on the negatives, and there's always solutions for the negatives. So we need to go in with a positive mindset. All right, we can start with the next slide. All right, deciding on where to go. That is always the biggest question. The first question, of course, is it financially possible? I know that in-state is cheaper than out-of-state, but it also can be cheaper out of country. Actually, I just did a interview with the US News the other day. It's a national newspaper on reasons of why to study out of country, specifically in Europe, because tuition costs are actually about just as much in Europe as they are in-state and cheaper than out-of-state. So if you're thinking about Europe, I highly, 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 highly recommend it. Not only do you get to travel and see Europe and have the opportunity to go on weekend trips to other countries, but you automatically become a top choice in the hiring field, because they love people who get their education internationally. So even if you decide to not live in that country, you come back with a much higher worth than the people who get that same degree inside of the United States. So of course that the finances is always a thing to consider. I know it's terrifying to study in the United States considering the cost, but of course there's always scholarships, especially through NSHSS, but then also in Europe and other countries that you might choose to go to also have scholarships and grants specifically for international students, and even students from the USA, because they want that international class. So you can definitely consider that. Another consideration, especially for moving out of country, is if you're proficient in the language, specifically that the class is taught in. That is kind of a no-brainer, but something people forget about. I had to study Swedish for about 1.5 to 2 years, just so that I could study what I am studying now, because it's half taught in English, half taught in Swedish. So it's very important that you know that. Most classes require that you have a grade or passed a test in that language, but some forget to have that there and just expect that you know the language when you apply to such a class. So make sure you check out the details of that. But of course, it's always good to know basic phrases in the native language that you're going to be, wherever it is. Please, thank you, my name is, where is, stuff like that, or I don't speak blank, or can you speak English? That's always good. But especially in European countries, most of them learn from English from about age 6 to 19. So there is not a huge language barrier. It's also like that in most Asian countries, at least I know so far with Japan and South Korea. I'm not sure about very many others, but yeah, make sure you check into that. Duolingo is always a good option. And then of course, there's always like the feelings of nervousness about if you should actually leave home, you know, leave mom behind, leave your brothers and sisters, especially as an older sibling. That's a hard decision, because a lot of the child rearing and responsibilities land on you. So it's like, can I really leave this behind? And yeah, I promise that you can. The family survives without you. And it's a good adaptation to learn and grow to be your own person, instead of like a growth onto somebody else or onto a family. You deserve to be your own individual. But overall, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be nervous. It would kind of be weird if you wouldn't be, to be honest, because it's a big step. It's not a step that many people consider and then therefore even do. So it's totally fine being scared. But as long as that fear is also coupled with excitement and wanderlust, you're fine. Like, fear is just like considering the unknown, and all you need to do with the unknown is do your research or just go there. As long as you have the excitement, you're set. For me, I describe the excitement a little bit like the idea of meeting a celebrity. Like if you sit there and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to meet, I don't know, Ariana Grande, Shawn Mendes, Lady Gaga, all the above tomorrow. Like thinking, oh, she's going to come to my house tomorrow. Like, and that like, whew, like feeling inside of you as if it was going to actually happen. If you get that feeling when you think about moving, good. Then you should just go. Like, figure out the finances, figure out what you want to bring, and go. You don't need to consider anything else. And then another thing that I also do to help, or did to help me consider my move, and I still do with big decisions, is that it's a little extreme, but I lay on my bed and I close my eyes and I pretend that I'm really old and I'm like in a hospital and I'm of dying age, and that I'm reflecting on my life, and then I'm thinking back to like the moment that I am in now, like if I should go or not. And then I imagine my life one way if I didn't take it, and I imagine my life the other way if I did take it. And that almost will always give you the answer. If you have this pang of regret in imagining that you didn't take that chance and didn't see what life was like outside of your hometown or outside of your state, then it's worth it. But most of all, I guess, just to wrap up about deciding where to go out of country, or out of state or out of city, is that it's okay to just want to leave and want to see something new. You don't need a reason. It's like watching a Netflix show. You don't need to say, oh, I think like the description's cool. Like, it's okay just because. You don't really need anything more than that except excitement. So yeah, don't overcomplicate it for yourself. All right, now we're going to go into step 2 of our presentation, which is the process of moving. Once you've decided where you want to go in this big wide world, there is some things you need to do to prepare, and hopefully this will help you feel a little bit more led on what you need to do to prepare to leave your hometown. We're first going to go about the first things you should do, packing, the process and moving there, and then some things you might need to consider specifically if you're out of country. All right, yeah. Okay, the first steps is considering how far away it is and how you're going to get there. Seems pretty reasonable or like self-explanatory, but you need to figure out if you're going to be going by plane, bus, car, however, boat sometimes. Haven't heard too many of that, but that's a possibility. And so that will definitely limit how much and what you can bring, but I definitely don't suggest bringing your car. If it's out of country, just leave your car, because only the United States and the UK and maybe a few other countries use mile an hour. So don't bring your car. That's just no. Like, but even if it's out of state, most things are within biking distance. And sometimes you can't even use a car. Like if you want to go to the gym from your dorm to campus, even if it's across campus, you can't necessarily drive there without taking a longer time to drive there in itself. College towns are also very well known for having public transportation, which is often hundreds of times cheaper than gas and car insurance. So I would heavily consider not bringing your car, unless I guess you could do in-state if you need to go home often. That's of course a consideration, but by all means I don't recommend it. Let's see, I have some notes here. Yes, you also have a fee for having a car on campus. I don't know if all of you know that, but you often have to pay like $200 a month to even secure a parking spot. So that $200, that is so many ramen noodles. That's like 2 months of ramen noodles. So don't bring a car, guys. Like, also don't just eat ramen noodles. Please eat vegetables, even if they're expensive. You gotta live. That's what my dad and I have talked a lot about. Is even though I'm on a tight budget, like I'm not allowed to just eat ramen noodles and freezer pizza. You gotta live a little bit. Cucumbers exciting, carrots are exciting. Anyways, before getting there, I know in most US universities you can be assigned to a dorm. If you're going out of country, definitely try to go and see that you are at least secure at a place. You might not know the location, they might not know either, but just that you're guaranteed somewhere to sleep and somewhere to have your things. This is normally guaranteed through exchange programs, but then of course you're going to get charged your normal tuition fee if you do an exchange program. So it's much better if you just apply and then contact the university admissions or whatever officers you need to. They're normally really good about replying. And they're normally pretty good about helping international students too, because they definitely want that income of international students. Another important thing is notifying your bank of your move, especially if you're going out of country, but even if you're going out of state, because if they notice this activity that's outside of your normal range, they will decline your card, they will cancel your card, they will shut down the account or freeze your assets. So that is a very important thing. You don't want to be however many miles away and get your card declined at the store. That's super embarrassing, especially if you don't have friends. Just from personal experience, don't do it. It's so embarrassing. Especially as an introvert, just being at the grocery store and then just standing with like the red light going off and having the cashier come over and it's a mess. So definitely do that. It's also good to have a little bit of currency. A lot of European countries aren't necessarily on currency anymore, but most stores still do accept it sometimes. But yeah, don't carry a lot of loose currency on you either, but maybe have $30 just in case something goes wrong. All right, we can go to packing now. All right, we'll go back to what does your accommodation look like? It can be hard, but most of the time your university will give you an idea of what it looks like, if it's a dorm, if it's a shared apartment, something like that. And based on that, how much closet space you have, storage space you have, you'll have a rough idea of how much you need to bring. But another thing to consider is the next time when you can go home. That'll also be a big factor in what you need to bring. So if you can go home twice a year, then when you move in the fall, you only need to bring your fall and winter clothes, and then you can bring those back home when you go on Christmas, and then bring your spring and summer clothes when you leave, or mixture of both, whatever is best. But you don't need to bring everything at once because most people are able to go home over the holidays. Then of course, how you're getting there, that'll definitely affect how much you can pack. I personally recommend, if you're taking an airplane, for 2 large checked-on suitcases, and then of course you have your carry-on suitcase and your backpack. You don't really need more than that, especially even for 6 months. I lived in those 2 for a year. It's plenty of clothes. You'll be surprised how much 50 pounds or 100 pounds in this case of clothes is. You can fit almost your entire closet, which you don't even need if you're going home for Christmas. Then I have linen and towels here in many stars, because universities will not provide this for you. They might provide you like a mattress and a pillow, but they will not provide you sheets, blankets, towels, anything like that. So you definitely need to bring your own, because if you don't, you're just stuck with a gross college mattress, and that's not good. So definitely at least bring one and then a change. So I know it's a lot to consider, but there's like, might need a kitchen towel, hand towel for the bathroom, and then of course your showering towels. So that's like 4 to 5 right there, and they need to change. So that'll take up some space. And then of course, pillowcases and what are those called? Sheets. Sorry, my Swedish is like messing up. I've had to talk Swedish all day. It's 4 p.m. here, so I've been out and about. Besides that, of course, clothes are important for packing. You'll consider what time of the year it is, where you're going. But I would also recommend bringing a lot of decorations and pictures, because clothes are washable. Nobody really notices what you wear, but you're going to notice if where you stay doesn't feel like home. And that's going to impact you way more than wearing, the same outfit once a week or twice a week. So definitely consider designating at least half a suitcase to bring decorations or whatever you want to have to make your new place feel like home, because this is the new place for your mental space and mental rest. And so you need to have a good space for where you can be you and be somebody outside of school, but also outside of home. Then of course, important documents. This doesn't really matter where you go. You're going to want identification documents, your passport, driver's license, birth certificate, and especially papers if you've changed your identification at any point. That's going to go for name, gender, family association, because a lot of times government agencies across cities, states, countries don't record this or send it to each other. So you could come up with a blip and then be denied access to the college or the housing because there's some sort of crisis with that. So you definitely want to always have that on you. Some people even or places require that you have like a tax form or like a residency form to show double check identification. But if you have your passport and your driver's license and birth certificate, a combination of those three, you should be okay to go. You're gonna want your academic papers. Of course, if you're studying in the United States, most colleges already have your transcript, but if you go out of state or out of country, you're gonna definitely want your visa. Do not forget your visa of approval, because they can stop you at the border and they just will play stupid, or they are stupid, and no offense to them, and problems there. So always have a copy or the original acceptance of your visa, your acceptance letter to your college, so that they can see that you are allowed to be in this country and are there for studying reasons, because they could question your motive. And then a copy of your transcript. There are almost no colleges outside of the United States that use SAT or ACT scores. So that is not necessarily important, but having a physical copy is always good of your grades. And then to close off packing and stuff, just remember where you're going. It's going to be civilized. There will be people living there. People have lived there before. There's going to be grocery stores, probably an IKEA if it comes down to it. So if you really forget something there, you can buy it there. And yeah, you're not moving to the middle of nowhere. It'll be a city much like yours and much like a college near you. So you'll be okay. All right, moving there. My suggestion is that you should move at least 4 or 5 days before class starts, if you can. I know for some people it's not possible, but that's good, so you can decorate your place, because once classes start going, you don't necessarily want to be home for the first 2 weeks. You want to go out and explore, meet new people, go to class, all of that fun stuff. So coming home to a place that feels like you is also very nice, instead of coming home to just, a bed and 4 white walls. Speaking of it, definitely learn where your classes are. If you have free time, like walk your schedule, so you don't think, if you're like, okay, I can leave 15 minutes early, but you're going to get 15 minutes to walk there and then 15 minutes to find the classroom, then you're late and that's super embarrassing. Don't do that, because everybody looks at you. If you guys can't tell, I'm kind of an introvert. And of course, explore. Like you guys are going not only for college, but you're going to be your own person, to learn new things, and to see new things, just for that. So go get a coffee, go get an ice cream, whatever you want. If you're in Europe, I mean, gelato, there's so many coffee shops. Just make sure you give yourself that time to actually see the place that you want to go see, because you're not just there to study. University is a lot more than just studying. I know high school's like that. It's just get your homework done, go to class, sleep, eat. But university is a lot about, yeah, there's that, but there's also like finding who you are, and I guess not being scared of the new world, or being scared of the world outside of your bubble that you've grown up in. And then also, of course, join clubs and organizations. That is super important. Fraternities, basketball, football, whatever you like. Even if you don't like it, if you have a slight interest in it, just do it, because that's how you're going to get connected to people. You're not necessarily going to get connected to people in class, because everybody shows up like on time or 5 minutes early. You're not going to have time to talk to people. So this is where you're really going to bond with people, and make friends. So, and it's easier to drop out of these things or leave than to join in late. So even if you're questioning it, just do it. Most of the time there's no cost, and if there is, it's very little. And it's just to help the organization be able to provide these sort of opportunities for kids. Let's see. Oh, that's another thing I said. If you think you're not going to have time, you will. Because you're going to do your homework, and sometimes you're not going to want to do your homework. You're going to be bored, even though you have homework, and you're going to want to go do something. And then there's that something, because it's hard when you're bored and don't have anything to do and don't have friends or don't have a club or activity, you're like, okay, I guess I'll walk outside my dorm and look at the trees or something. I don't know. No, so this is good. Absolutely. A lot of universities will probably force you into one. They do here at Lund. You have to join a fraternity / sorority house. They're mixed here. So every single student that comes here has to join one, and then they're automatically on the calendar for all of they're called nations instead of fraternities and sororities. And we're all then included in the calendar and get sent reminders of events like football competitions or concerts or plays, dining events where we can learn how to like properly dine, or there's so many things. You'll be amazed what there is for opportunities. And then when you get there, that's something I ran into. That was definitely difficulty for me. I didn't realize how much stuff I had at home that I relied on my mom just having bought already. Yeah, there's actually quite a bit of stuff that you'll never realize costs money, first of all, and second of all, that's always there for you to use. So of course you want your hygiene and shower products, whatever that might look like. Hopefully a toothbrush and toothpaste. Shower products, laundry detergent, yeah, whatever you need. You don't necessarily need to pack that stuff. That's relatively cheap, and especially not if you're going on a flight. That is a waste of space, and of course there's always problems with it, like exploding and ruining stuff. But you know, if you have some stuff, of course you can have, but this is stuff that you want to buy like almost on the first day. Like I said, laundry detergent and softener if you want it. Almost every dorm or apartment complex will have a washing machine and often a dryer. If not a dryer, they'll have like a drying line. But I mean, in the case of my college complex or apartment complex, it actually comes with laundry detergent and softener in the water. So just check with that on like your first day there. You're gonna want like food containers, like the ones that you can press down the top on that goes click. I don't know if those are called like Ziploc or whatnot, for food, because most of the time you will have at least a shared kitchen or a fridge, or if not, you can put non-refrigerated items in that. You just want fresh food as best as you can. Plastic bags like Ziploc baggies. Your own pot and pan, because it is disgusting, like absolutely disgusting to share a pot and pan in a dorm, shared kitchen, or shared apartment. Because trust me, not a lot of people have learned how to do dishes. You would think so, but they cannot. Or they burnt it, or they scrape the, you know, like the metal onto the nonstick. Oh my God. Anyways, so yeah, that's super important to have. And that is just, these are the basics for a dorm with a shared common space. If you have a dorm with a private toilet or a private apartment, you definitely need all of those things. You need toilet paper, paper towel, or kitchen towels. That'll be another thing you need to add to your linen. Snacks and meal starters, rice, pasta, frozen meat, anything like that. So you can make food at home, but also so you can make large portions to save for the rest of the week, because oftentimes you will not have an opportunity to cook. Hand soap, dish soap, and then a dish brush, because most college dormitories and apartments, especially in Europe, do not do dishwashers. That's just not a thing here. And they will not provide you with those things. If you're in a shared dorm with a common space, you like with shared toilets as well, the university will most likely provide the toilet paper, paper towel, and soap. But it's also nice to just have your own, because everybody's touching everything all the time. All right, we can go to the next one. Oh yeah, other things to consider. A bike, absolutely. And I don't necessarily recommend bringing your bike. That goes with like if you're bringing your car, you can bring your bike, but definitely purchasing one there. You can go onto Facebook Marketplace or whatever you want to buy a bike, but that is going to be your main mode of transport. And it's okay to go on a little bit more expensive side if you need to buy a new one, because the used ones, I've had bad experiences with that. I've I guess gotten scammed, but you can definitely give it a try, but absolutely a bike is necessarily in almost any college town. If you're going outside of the country, you can do an SD card. You do not need a new phone. I've had this conversation with my mom. You do not need a new phone when you go outside of the country. You can still use your own and get charges for sending international text and calls, but you can also get an SD card in the country that you're in to have local data, and those cost around $30 no matter where you go. But I definitely recommend using Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat for communicating internationally, because those are free and also over Wi-Fi, if anything. So you might not even need an SD card in most situations. And then, of course, depending on how long you're there, you might want to open a bank account in the new country you're in. I have some notes on that. Let's see here. Yeah, and with that, you are gonna need to bring identification, especially your passport, citizenship, if you are going to a country you're a citizen in. And that's just a good way to establish yourself there, but it's not necessarily an opportunity everybody can have if they aren't a citizen of the country they're in. But if you're part of the EU, you can open a bank account in almost any EU country, I believe. All right, for the juicy stuff, difficulties with moving away from home. There's a lot of minor things, I would say, that have definitely solvable, and I've kind of categorized them into three things: cooking, making friends, and homesickness. Homesickness being the most common one. But for me, cooking, specifically as an American, you'll be surprised here in Europe when you come here and you can't make a 3-course meal. All the kids here go to cooking and sewing and woodworking as part of their general education. I know that's not necessarily something that's given in the United States. And it's something that's definitely expected of almost every other country in the world, is that when you go to college or even in high school, that you can cook for yourself and can go grocery shopping and stuff like that. So that's definitely something you need to work on and be prepared to do when you move out. And even if you're going inside of the United States, it's something that's good to have, and it's about time to learn it if you haven't, because you're probably never going to live at home again, or hopefully not, because it kind of sucks to live at home a little bit sometimes. But it's also a good time to connect with your friends and family. Ask your mom how she makes her famous lasagna, or how dad makes his killer brownies. Like, it's a time to really get to know them, but then also learn a little bit about your family, and then write down these recipes. That is very, very important, because don't trust your brain. It forgets on the exam. It'll forget when you're cooking. It gets worse with age and worse with stress. So make sure you write these down. You can even have your family write them down, which is kind of the lazy way to go. But my mom did that for me as my birthday present. It was writing down all my favorite recipes. And then when you get there, making sure you cook large portions so that you can freeze or refrigerate them. I normally do like 2 or 3 like different meals, and I do like 4 to 5 portions of them. So I have options, because I don't really like eating the same thing every day, multiple times a day. Because you're honestly not going to have time between studying, going to school, and then if you want any free time with your friends, you're not going to want to spend an hour, half an hour cooking. So yeah, and then of course you can have ramen noodles and frozen pizza in between there sometimes, because that's also good, but it's not recommended if you want to stay alive in a happy manner. Yes. Okay. Next, making friends. Like I said, I'm an introvert, so this was definitely difficult for me, but I realized it was time to let go of being an introvert, or at least a hardcore introvert, and that I needed to get out of my introverted habits. I had to say hi first. I had to ask for somebody's number or their Snapchat, and I had to text first sometimes. And it's scary the first time, but then after the first time, it's actually not that bad, because you realize everybody else does it too, or hopefully does it. And that's just kind of how life ends up working. And like I have said here, being uncomfortable is okay, and that you need to fight the flight. You need to fight the instinct to be like, oh, just like shut down Snapchat, or to like pull yourself back from like making eye contact with the person to start the conversation. Like you need to go through with that. So first of all, that you make connections, but then also to grow as a person, because these are skills that you're gonna need to succeed later in life and outside of college. Especially if you want to be a CEO or something, these are some of the most important skills outside of your education to be able to do, is to be able to be the first one to approach. Joining groups as freshmen, of course, there's sororities, fraternities, whatever clubs you want to do. That is, I can't like say that enough. Outside of eating your vegetables, this is the second most important thing. The third one is attending class, or I mean, attending class might be the first one actually. Of those three, those are the most important, because like I said, you're not going to have time to make friends inside of class, because everybody shows up on time, late, or 5 minutes early, and you're not going to be like, oh, hi, and be able to share your life story or whatnot in those 5 minutes. And then just like I said before, it's easier to leave after you've joined than to join late. And then let's say you join and you have to pay what, $30, $20, and you don't get refunded if you leave. It's honestly worth that money to at least give it a try than to not do it at all, because I mean, homesickness and loneliness is going to be incredibly, like, it'll be very, very difficult to handle if you don't have these opportunities, even if it's not inside of something you're interested in. And then we come to the biggest one that I think everybody's concerned about, is homesickness. When I started out, I video chatted my family every day for an hour, and that definitely helped. I personally video chatted my dog because that's the one I missed. And that, yeah, it was difficult, but I think you realize, you almost lighten, you don't realize how much your family can necessarily weigh on you with the extra noise in the house, with arguments, or just having like the presence of people in your bubble all the time, how much that can weigh on you. So it actually can be lightening, and it's nice to be able to video chat, but you find very quickly that it's actually nice to be able to have an opportunity to escape all of that. And of course, confide in your friends, confide in your old friends, confide in your new friends, join a Facebook group about people who are traveling and who are in the situation, because almost every university will have a Facebook page for international students. Most of the time, if not 100% of the time, you'll find somebody from the United States. And then if you can't access these things, like let's say it's super late at night and you can't sleep and you're feeling homesick, I would definitely say that you should reflect on all the things that you wouldn't have gotten to do if you hadn't taken this chance. Like even if it's the small things, like, oh, I wouldn't have gotten to see this lake, go to this cafe, try a croissant for the first time. And just, I guess it's dumb. It's not dumb to say, but it's repetitive, like focus on the positive. Because there's a lot of things you'll never have gotten to see or do, or even become the person you will become if you hadn't had taken that opportunity. And then if this homesickness comes during homework, I would say allow yourself to do something that makes you feel happy, because sometimes it can just overtake you and overwhelm you, and you just are so overcome by this feeling that you feel like you don't want to work, you can't work. And it's okay to like stop and go paint and whatever makes you happy. Painting is what makes me happy. And so it's okay to not always do your homework. It's okay not to do your homework to perfection, because in university, they say C's get degrees. Honestly, a passing grade gets degrees. When you get your diploma, nobody can see your grades outside of the university unless another university asks or requests to see those grades. So it's okay to be happy, and it's okay to do something that makes you feel happy. Then of course, lastly, allow yourself to be homesick. You don't need to push it down. You don't need to deny the feeling. It's okay to feel. And it's something that's just part of the process. But the homesickness has never, ever made me regret what I've done. I can say that. Absolutely. It's not a nice feeling, but it's worse than the feeling of wondering what my life would have been if I hadn't taken this chance. And then the positives, like I've said before, independence. You learn to be your own person. I decide my own bedtime. I decide if I get to go out with my friends, how long I get to go out with my friends, what I get to eat. I can not eat my vegetables. I can eat my vegetables. I can eat dessert for dinner. Yeah. And you learn pretty quick that you don't feel great when you eat dessert for dinner, but that's just a lesson you're allowed to learn by yourself. And then privacy, that's a big one. Nobody busts into your room without knocking on your door first. You normally have a key to your own room. And then of course, like with the whole grades, I know a lot of people or students are academically pressured by their parents, and their parents have access to their grades by Canvas or international something portal. I don't remember really what it's called, but they can't access your grades anymore when you're in the university. And of course, as NSHSS, we want to encourage you to do your best and all that, but we also encourage mental health. So if getting a C on the next test or getting a C on your next assignment is what's going to make you be okay mentally, then that's what you get to do. And you don't need to fear your parents looking at your grades and calling you angry or yelling at you in your room or being disappointed in you, because now this is your time to prioritize yourself and choose what's going to make you feel best and also what's going to be best for your future. Of course, learning just in general, of course, you get to go and study whatever you want to study, but mostly it's like learning everything outside of academia, getting to see a new culture, new places, seeing who you are yourself outside of your family, outside of your hometown, the decisions you make and the things you find fun or attractive to your lifestyle. You discover so much so fast. And something I said in the newspaper that actually got quoted was that I thought I knew a lot before I left my hometown and was going to college. And it wasn't until I moved that I realized that I didn't really know that much about anything, actually. So you definitely got to take that opportunity while you're away from home. And then, yeah, if you're moving away was the only thing that was in the way of your dreams, it's actually not that scary, because you just go from one place to another. The ground is still under your feet, the sky still above your head, and you have your things. You might just not have your parents physically right beside you, but they're always a phone call away, a flight away. And you're ready for it. It's just scary to take that jump, but it's kind of like being scared to jump into a pool, and then once you jump, it's only 3 feet deep. The fall is a lot faster, and the ground's there under your feet a lot faster than you think it's going to be. And then although friendship making was like a difficulty I had, or I thought I was going to have, it was definitely for the first few days before college began. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make friends. But once it started, got the ball rolling, that might be like the best thing you have. It's super easy to find your niche because the college is so big, but everybody's also trying to find themselves. So everybody's super open and wanting to learn about each other and trying new things. And you're kind of just there all supporting each other as people who are going on an adventure and not necessarily knowing what they're doing. But of course, you always have your forefathers and stuff like that. But you realize there's actually quite a lot of people like you. If it's not in your hometown, there will be somebody at college, or at least a group like you at college. For me, my friends are like my new family. Those are who I relate to more, who I spend most of my time with. And it's honestly more relieving than being at home for me. Being with my friends, being with myself, being in my room that I've created. Yeah, I'm my own person, and I find so much more comfort than that than living at home, which I didn't think I ever would, but it is that way. Then of course, opening your doors for the future, for future jobs, future opportunities, traveling. If you decide to go back to the United States, now you have friends maybe in your current country, city, or state that you can come and visit and stay with. So yeah, that's a quote I wanted to give you guys to stop getting in the way of your own dreams. Because now we've talked about it, and if your only fear is about leaving everything you've ever known, then don't let that stop you, because your dreams are a lot bigger than that fear. All right, questions and discussion you guys can put in the chat, or you can turn on your mic. I would prefer if you guys ask verbally, because I think that'd be faster and I'm kind of bad at reading, to be honest. And then Madeline, if you can switch to the next slide, if we can just have that up for contact information and stuff. Claire, do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
So the only question that I have is, with all of the things that you were talking about with bringing things and everything else, the one thing that I do not know about bringing, but I really want to, but I don't know, would be like figurines or anything like that.
Why not?
Okay, I wasn't
Like,
sure because
I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a bunch of people that think your figurines are cool. Are they like from a certain movie or like cartoon or comic book?
I have a lot of marine life figurines in my house.
Okay. Well, that's a great conversation starter if you have somebody over to your room. So yeah, if those make you happy, bring them. It doesn't matter if it's like a half dead octopus zombie looking thing, do it.
That'd be sad. I don't want that.
Okay, don't bring the zombie octopus. But yeah, absolutely. Whatever makes you happy, feel at home. And then you'll probably find people that are interested in that too. I think I have a question in the chat here. How long did it take you to get used to being away from home? I would say the first week is kind of surreal, kind of feels like you're in a dream. Then after that, it starts getting pretty normal. Because I mean, at first the grocery stores, especially if you're in a different country and not being able to read the labels, it's kind of alien to you. But you learn the grocery store pretty quick. You learn the way to get to school pretty quick. Faces become familiar very fast. And so I think in about 1 week it sets in. And you have a routine. Until you're comfortable, that's of course individual to everybody. But once you start getting yourself in a routine, having your room decorated, I definitely want to press like decorating your room is one of the first things you do when you get there, besides acknowledging your roommate's existence. Of course you should do that. Yeah, that's one of the most important things. And do more than just acknowledging your roommate's existence. Okay, I was just joking there. Like in Sweden, they call it fika, which is when you sit down and have like cookies and coffee, like bond with your roommate if you have one, because you're stuck with them for the most part. Do we have any other questions or comments? I mean, you can give me feedback if you want. This is my first presentation, so it's very exciting. I'm very nervous. I'm a little red in the face, but it was very exciting and fun to talk about it, because it's something I definitely want everybody to do if they have just like the slightest desire to go after it, because there's no way you're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret letting the fear stop you. Absolutely.
I think you did really well.
Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Titos. And then this presentation will be posted somewhere on NSHSS, I believe Madeline said. Yeah, if you guys need to go back to refer, because I know it's a lot of information and I definitely don't want you guys. I'm so scared somebody's gonna like message Madeline or me or someone and say, oh, I know you said on the presentation to bring towels and linen, but I forgot. And that's just gonna be like my worst nightmare. Because like, I can't tell you, like 30 people have slept on the mattress you sleep on before you. You really don't want to forget that. That's really gross. But here's some information about me. Great. Madeline will share a link of the presentation. On this slide, that for the top email, cc_exec vice president at NSHSS, is where you can contact me with further questions. It can be about this presentation or it can be about NSHSS in general. I take all questions regarding NSHSS as part of my duty to the organization. You can find more information about NSHSS scholarships, more people, more experiences at nshss.org. You can apply to be an ambassador or a collegiate member, or if you want to get more involved, do Instagram takeovers, help out events, whatever you want to do. And then if you want to personally follow me on Instagram, I try to post there relatively often. You can see my adventures here in Sweden, along with me taking mini adventures to other side countries. And then all of the pictures below have links to the NSHSS pages on our social media. Oh, and thank you, Antonia, for your compliment. Thank you guys so much. We can leave the Zoom open for another 10 minutes if anybody has any more questions. And like I said, further questions, you can reach out to me on email, or you can follow me on Instagram, Annika CSJ, and you can contact me there. Thank you, Hope. Definitely go for it, Hope. I'm glad I could help you make you feel a little better. You won't regret it. You'll have such a good time. I promise. Home will always be there.
All right, everyone, I'm going to share the link to this presentation in the chat. That way, if anyone is interested in, reading more about it, keeping track of it, you can do so. So I'm going to put that right in the chat. And I wanted to put give a quick thank you to Anika. You did a great job. This was awesome. And I'm Madeline, by the way. I work with our student leaders, our high school leaders, our college leaders, and then our alumni. So if you have any topics that you ever want us to give presentations on, any general feedback, you can email me and I'm happy to get that information. And I'm going to put my email in the chat as well. And I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, we're going to stick around for the next couple of minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.